talking to you about two things. One thing that I'm really good at, and one thing that I'm not so good at. Math and online dating. I'll let you decide which is which. And let me start off by saying that this presentation is not going to be filled with earth-shattering, paradigm-shifting ideas. It's not. What it is going to be, it's going to be stating the obvious, but backing it up with statistical data. So here it is. Here's the obvious. Women prefer to date taller men. Mind blown, right? Probably not. I mean, this is something we already know, but I wanted to see how true this actually is. And my goal isn't to change or to height shame any woman for having their height preferences. Not at all. Whether it's because they don't want to be taller than the guy, whether they're in heels, or they just want a really tall guy to fight out groups of ninjas. Their height preference is their height preference. And so, a little bit about myself. I'm an engineer. I love using math to solve problems. I'm 5'7" and a half. It matters. And this may shock you. I'm single. Another mind-blowing statement. Again, probably not, but let's talk about what I did. So I collected a ton of data from Match.com, but I'm only going to have time to share with you a few key takeaways from my data analysis. The first thing I'll share is I want to figure out, is tall relative? Meaning, if you're a 5'2" female, would you set your minimum height preference to say 5'7"? Because relative to 5'2", 5'7" is tall? Or does that 5'2" female still want to date a guy that's tall relative to the general population, say 5'11"? The next thing I sought to figure out is, well, who actually wants to date me? Meaning, based on my available dating pool, what percentage of women said my height met their minimum height preference? So I want to date you. Do you want to date me? Question mark? Here's how I got my data. I data mined profiles from women who were between 26 and 32, between the heights of 5'1" and 5'9", within a 30-mile radius of where I live. Took an even amount of data samples from each age and height for a total of 630 different profiles. So if you live in San Diego and you're Match.com, I probably stalked your profile. Sorry, I'm not sorry. And yes, I know that when women fill these profiles, they put their ideals. And in real life, would actually date a guy much shorter. But until Match.com adds here's the actual height of the guy I would date field, this is the only data I have to go on. So, this is the data I'm using. Let's get to the data. The pink bar represents the female's height, and the blue bar is their average minimum height preference. So you can see for a female that is 5'1", on average, she prefers a guy that is 5'7" or taller. You can also see that as the female's height increases, her average minimum height preference difference decreases. So it starts off at about 6 inches for women that are 5'1", and by the time you get to women that are 5'9", their minimum height preference is only 2 inches taller than them. So, the taller she is, the less tall he has to be. The second thing I sought to answer was, how big is my dating pool? So based on the male's height, what percentage of women said they would date a guy that height? You're already laughing again. If you're 5'1", 0% of the population said they would date you. Ouch! But you can see, as the male height increases, so does their available dating pool. You pass the 50% mark at about 5'9", and if you're 6 feet, you met the minimum height requirement for 98% of the women within the sample population. Which is interesting, is that 2% of the sample population that were 5'9" or shorter said that 6 feet tall was not tall enough. Oh, so that's how tall people are made. That's what we learned. Here's what we actually learned. We learned I'm barely tall enough for even the shortest women on Match.com, and only about a third of the women that said I would date actually want to date me. Shout out to my short parents. And believe it or not, this isn't my boo-hoo-hoo, I'm only 5'7" and a half, and girls don't want to date me Ignite presentation. This is just a statistical representation of women's ideal height preferences from Match.com. Data. So, I will do what I always do as an engineer with data. I will make a decision. And that decision will be to probably stop doing online dating. Because I'm too short to date, statistically speaking. Nah, just kidding. I couldn't quit online dating if I tried. To get a full analysis and all the data I captured,